Hola, mi gente. Welcome to another episode of the Wine and Cheeseman podcast. And this week, we have a beautiful, wonderful guest. And actually, like, this is going to be our true first conversation. So that always makes for a fun time. I have Tiffany Yvonne Cox. Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
Hello, I'm so good. I'm very thankful to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you here. I'm always so excited. Look, I love everybody that I meet. That's just who I am, right? I want to be like, I want to hear everybody's stories all the time and everything. But every time when I get like a guest application from somebody I've never met and I get to read about them and I get to go their social media and kind of all those things, it's like just it's a different feel because it's like that first excitement of meeting somebody and everything, almost like a blind date but way better.
Yes, because you have to apply beforehand. At least there's mutual interest. Yes.
Yes, exactly. I'm not like, I know what you look like, I know a little bit of your story.
Right.
It's not like I'm going into this going, oh my gosh, who is this person? Are they going to be creepy and weird?
Right.
Usually I get a sense of that, based on social and based on the bio and your websites and all of those things. And I went and looked at yours and I was like, you know what? She my people. Like she's a happy person. I love this. I love, like, I was like, she is smiling. I love it. She's giving off great energy. So I'm really excited to have you here.
Same. Thank you. Thank you. And you know what? Because I was when we originally were doing this, it was pre the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strike. So
Yes.
it was in relation to a project, but also me and my life. I love wine. And so once that happened where I couldn't promote projects, I was like, but I still want to do this. Like I can still talk to an individual who seems cool. I grew up as a military brat, so I do truly enjoy people in the same way. So thank you for saying yes to a very random ask from a person you have no clue who they are.
I think, one thing is because it was after it got, we had to reschedule. It was after the SAG after stuff. I was very aware of that. And I was like, are you okay?
Yes.
Like I sent you an email going, is this going to be okay? Like, what do we want to talk about? How do you want to shift things? Because, I want to be very supportive of SAG AFTRA and the Writers Guild. And even for one of our episodes we did for the August Chisme download, I even reached out to one of my friends who, and I was like, how can we talk about Blue Beetle? And how can we talk about, so just to, because obviously he's a Latino superhero. So we wanted to make sure that we were kind of talking about it. And I think so I got some pointers on her. And obviously I'm not part of SAG after, but I know they have a creators thing.
Yeah.
And if I just want to be respectful. That's my biggest thing, is just wanting to be respectful and really supportive of the Writers Guild and the actors of what's going on right
Yes, definitely. And you are. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
now. Oh, no problem. So let me read your bio before we talk about our wines.
All right.
Tiffany Yvonne Cox is a first generation Trinidadian actress, writer, director, and producer. She began her professional career interning at the Milwaukee Repertory Theater. This launched her into the Chicago theater scene, where she worked with companies such as Chicago Shakespeare Theater, the House Theater, the Goodman, and many more. After her first TV role on Chicago Fire, she decided to move to LA, where she has worked on shows such as Grey's Anatomy, Dead to Me, and Good Trouble. She currently has a reoccurring role, well, paused reoccurring role
Right.
in the upcoming Ramla, is it Ramla, right? Ramla
Yeah, that's
Mohammed,
correct. Mhm.
Kerry Washington, Larry Wilmore led legal drama Reasonable Doubt on Hulu, and a lead on Hallmark's mahogany film Napa Ever After. We're just saying their bio. We're not promoting anything right now, just as a FYI. When not on a lead on Hallmark and on this film, when not on screen or stage, Tiffany volunteers with nonprofit organization CSH Speak Up, where she supports those who have experienced homelessness in developing their story to share with legislation for more funding towards supportive housing. Ooh, girl, we could talk about that too.
Oh, yeah.
Once she realized bringing minority stories to the forefront was something she enjoyed creating through art, Tiffany began producing and directing. This began with collaborating on digital series Commune, followed by her directorial debut of a short film called Roadside Assistance, which is extended into a workshop on empathy and allyship. She directed the one woman show Whoa Man by Brianna Morris, the podcast play LaDonna's Epiphany featuring Anna Maria Horsford, and recently star vehicle, a short film that is a comedic love letter to all actors with a look into the world of the diversity day player. All right, we get it all in.
You got it all in. Thank you. All the words in. And reading bios is fine. So I have learned it's different where I'm like posting on social media, like, go see this with this struck company, as we call it.
Yes.
Companies that we are negotiating with the AMPTP. Those are called struck work and struck companies, as we are not promoting the work at the moment. So yeah.
Yes.
Reading
So
of
I really want to kind of get like, I think it's really important for people to really kind of understand. I feel like there's all kinds of information. And if you're not somebody who is really on social media and really like the average person is not spending a lot of time on social media, most of the information that I've learned has really been from like TikTok and some of the people that I know within that work within the industry on Instagram. But if you don't know any of those people, and you don't follow any of those people, you really don't know what's going on. And a lot of times I think there's a misconception, and we'll get into it. I wanted to get into our wine first, but there's just a misconception of who it's actually affecting
yes.
because people think, oh, well, oh, it's a bunch of multimillionaires who aren't getting paid. That's not the case at all. But before we get into all that chisme, right? We always start with the wine. So I cannot wait to hear what wine you are drinking today, Miss Tiffany.
Yes, yes. And if it's okay, I'm gonna share two. Now that I have two glasses, I'm
Girl, yeah,
gonna
share too. Hey, I am for you will not ever hear me say no, don't share wine on here.
right. So the first one that I'm not drinking, but if we like we noted we had to reschedule, what I was gonna be drinking was from a place called See You Later Ranch that is up in Penticton, British Columbia in Canada. I didn't know that wine country existed up there until I was working on this project. And instead of us filming in Napa, which is very expensive, we filmed in Vancouver, Osoyoos, and Penticton. And Osoyoos and Penticton are two beautiful British Columbia wine areas, y'all. The wine is so good. It is so good.
I've heard of like I knew ice wine was made in Canada, but I didn't realize that they had other wines too.
And look, and the one I have from See You Later Ranch was a Pinot Noir, and it was juicy and like it was full versus I mean I think like a Napa Pinot Noir or a Paso Robles Pinot Noir, you get beautiful flavor in it, but there was something that was like more full from being up there.
Mm.
So yeah, it's delicious. The one I'm actually drinking today is Emma Reichart Rosé Pinot Noir. And I like this one because it's at Trader Joe's, y'all. It is $4.99. It is worth $12.99 usually, but
There
but
is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with, look, Trader Joe's actually has a very good wine selection.
they do.
And and you can get really good wines. I always say, like, the best wine is the wine that you like. And
Mhm.
there's so many times where people are like, oh, I'm so sorry I'm drinking. I'm like, don't apologize to me. Like, you like it. That's all that matters.
And I don't mind sharing a deal, and especially when it's good. Like I just had a little girls' night and busted out that rosé, and folks are like, "What is this?" I was like, "Go on to Trader Joe's, y'all. Go on to Trader Joe's and get that bad boy. So delicious."
Nice. Well, keeping on the Pinot Noir train, I'm actually drinking. It's so hard sometimes with my background. I'm drinking a Pinot Noir from Casa Martinez Wines. It's their Camila wine, named after their first daughter.
Mhm.
And I actually he was our August. Yeah. So the first Wednesday of every month, we feature just straight wine. Um, and this one is from our August episode. And it's really good. It's very medium bodied, but it still has a lot of flavor. Like, and right now it's still, 4:30. I wasn't feeling like a cab, like a really, strong cab, which I love my cabs. Don't get me wrong. But I just kind of wanted something a little bit lighter because we're having company coming in this weekend. So that's what I'm drinking today. This is
Okay.
very,
So good to know. Casa Martinez. And where are they located?
they're out of the Napa area, and he does not have a tasting room now, but you can go to casamartinezwine.com, I believe.
Awesome.
And yeah, so he has this and a rosé. And
Mm.
his daughter, his oldest daughter, Camila, she is actually, is it, she has like is it spinal bifida or something like that? She is basically relegated to a wheelchair at this point, and I don't think she's fully verbal. So a lot of their money goes to help fund, um, goes back to helping fund nonprofits to be able to find a cure, to be able to help others.
Incredible. I will definitely be looking that up. Thank you for flagging
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, salud.
Yes. Salud. Woo.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm super excited because like I said, I know we're having to shift a little bit
Yeah.
of what we're talking about, but you've done so much, and that doesn't include like any of the independent stuff that you're doing. But let's just kind of dive into that of what's happening right now, because you being a member of SAG-AFTRA and you going through this and you understanding it, um, you know, you and being a director and a producer and doing things that are SAG-AFTRA and doing things that are independent. I would love to hear, first of all, like, if you can kind of explain in the simplest terms possible what's happening, and then I have a couple of follow-up questions for you.
Definitely. Yeah. Let me just like bring everybody as much up to speed. And it's important that I say that I cannot speak on behalf of SAG AFTRA. I am speaking as a member who is experiencing this. And also, I want to give just a huge shout out to SAG AFTRA staff, our legal team, and also many of the members who volunteer that were on the negotiating committee. I was a former board member and also a delegate, current delegate right now, and I also did presentations. So I was in the room for just a small portion of time during the negotiations. So what's occurring right now is that every 3 years we have negotiations, just as if somebody would ask for a raise at their job. For us actors, everybody, we negotiate with the AMPTP, who are like the suits of the producers that leverage a lot of the finances and the money. We negotiate with them when it comes to terms. And so that goes for money, that goes for certain asks that we have on set. I have been heading up and leading equity in hair and makeup. So that was one of our 42 asks that we had when we were going into negotiations of making sure.
Which is crazy that even has to be an ask.
I know. And that's a big part of my goodness, because we talked about that. Like, the practice has been racist. Why are we negotiating to have non-racist practices on set? That shouldn't be the case. But unfortunately, unless we voice it, I'm finding that things aren't changing along the whole scope of things.
Mm.
So SAG-AFTRA is the union for actors in America, in the United States of America. Canada has something completely different, and you go overseas to like Europe or beyond, they have something completely different. And every 3 years, we go in with asks of things that we need. There's a very long process where anybody can show up who is a union actor and say that, hey, I experienced this on set and I would love this changed within our contracts. Big things that have come up is having intimacy coordinators into the contract. Big things that have come up, and this is the largest fight, is the use of AI and also AI, artificial intelligence, also residuals when it comes to streaming. Those are some of the big asks that are coming up. And when we brought those forward to the AMPTP, we got a lot of no's, a lot of negative votes. So, for example, for AI, something that was asked was placing parameters around that. Because what's occurring right now, and we will see these come out, there will be an audition that comes out. Maybe it's for background actors, maybe it's for a principal actor. Those are rare, but really it's a lot more background, where they'll say, we want to have an image and likeness of you, getting a body scan that can be used in perpetuity, and we'll pay you $2,500 up front. Now, imagine if that was something like, before we knew who, I'll give a name that we all know, Denzel Washington. Say Denzel wasn't Denzel just yet, and he said yes to that. Imagine that his image and likeness would be used for forever, wherever that particular company states that they want to use it, and also however they want to use it. So this could be something where maybe there's a cigarette ad. He didn't sign up for that initially when he had that body scan, but that company is doing it. Maybe it's a sex scene. He didn't sign up for that originally when he had that scan happen, but they have it in
I mean, we know there's a lot of women who would sign up to watch that, but that doesn't mean he would sign up to do that.
Right, right. Look, but Denzel was the equalizer. I'm like, oh, hey, Denzel, you still doing that 70, huh? Okay. But for him as the actor, like, he didn't sign up for that. And at least, well, I mean, if he had signed off for that, it would have been in perpetuity, so they can use it however, and he only received $2,500 for that, which is not okay. So let's
That's
replace.
so crazy to me.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that
I
crazy? So what
when
we're
I was hearing about it,
Mhm.
I was just like, oh my gosh, because there's a lot, as you know, as a podcaster and as somebody who works in communications, I do use AI like Chat GBT in certain ways, right? Like, but I don't use it for everything. I'll use it like if I'm having writer's block or, just certain things, but that's not how I do everything, right? I'm a writer at heart as far as being my communication. So I like to write. I enjoy that. That helps me kind of but sometimes when I'm blocked, I'll put in a couple sentences of something that I might need and that'll spark something. But to be able to say, oh, okay, scan my face now that I'm sitting here and you can do anything you want with it.
I am completely erased. And for backgrounds, I was giving a big name, Denzel, for background, then it takes out the whole world of the background actor. Because now they have all of these images that you can use over and over and over again in these scenes that we see on movies and such. So we're really working to make sure that people still have jobs in the future. Because if we don't have the actors, well, good Lord, everything and anything can start to be replaceable. So
And
that's
also one of the things, and I apologize for interrupting, but I
oh,
was
it's
just
okay, please
thinking
do.
that also kind of, people that have dreams of becoming an actor or anything, that kind of crushes them too, because then why would they want to hire anybody else and have anybody else when they have all of the, if that were to go through, they have all of these thousands of images of people that they can do whatever they want. That immediately closes the door for anybody new to come in as well.
So quickly and easily. Oh my goodness. Because I think there's an image as if, I think people forget how many people it takes to put on a movie or to put on a show. Because you'll see the big names, right? But then that same person who has to walk in a crowd scene, or not even a crowd scene, let's just say they're in their neighborhood and there's a kid playing in the background. That is an actor who had to be in there. Maybe there's somebody who drops off a piece of mail and says good morning. That is that journeyman actor who is like myself and like many other actors. We're the 98% of the acting field. You're taking those jobs away from those people. Or
Yeah.
those, as you noted, are trying to build their resume to get to the Denzels, the Violas, the so on and so on.
It
So
almost becomes like, well, why would they even want to? Like if they had Denzel or Viola or Kerry Washington or Jennifer Lowe, whoever, right? Like, why would they ever want to hire any other actor ever again if they had their images to be used for everything? I mean, it just feels like it would just become, well, let's be real. You're already right. Like, there's already a lack of diversity within the higher ups, right? Within the hierarchy, within those who run the studios, within producers, within directors. within we know within the Latino community, and we make up over 20% of the population, yet we are represented less than 5% of the time on screen. That
Right.
would only become even more exacerbated in regards to representation, because then when it comes to the writers, then you have no diversity within the writers, and it just becomes one voice.
Exactly. Exactly. And there was even somebody that came out with a thing like on a TikTok or something like that, where they took a named face, and that face, they said, okay, now I want you to be in a love story on a deserted island with another actor whose face they just plugged in. And then they were just able to create a story that way. So it even replaces the named actors. So we really have to build some parameters around this because we're just replacing humans. And as you noted as well, like you are within the Latinx community. I don't know if people see me. I can see you right now, so you can see I'm a black woman. But those who
They'll
cannot
see you and hear you.
yeah, right. So those who don't get to see me, I am a black woman. I'm a Trinidadian woman, and therefore my lived experience also lives within that. A computer can't do that. So all of a sudden, we're going to be having a huge change in the stories that come and misrepresented in so many different forms if we don't fight against it. So that's
Yeah.
AI. That's one of the big ones. The other big one that's going on is residuals. And I would say a huge focus is on streaming because what many people don't realize is that when I say streaming, I'm talking about the Hulus, the Netflix, the Amazon Prime. We don't know the numbers. When we watch a show on there, us actors, the writers, the directors, we don't know what's the viewership. And we're asking for transparency when it comes around that because as well, we don't know if we should be making more money or I remember One Day at a Time was canceled from Netflix and thank God the audience pushed back like what's happening? Why are you saying that there's not enough viewership? We know we're watching this. What's going on? And then they put it back on.
Same with Hentified.
Exactly.
I was
Exactly.
so sad. Both of those. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it just, oh,
Right. So there's a lack of transparency to know like what is the audience base when it comes to this. And along with that, that of knowing what the audience base is and also knowing how much money they're making from this feeds into residuals. I won't get into the nitty gritty of residuals because there's a lot of calculations and TAM versus TAC and 3.6% and things you got to multiply. But here's what I want audience to understand is that residuals is what allows actors to make a living. The way residuals were set up in the past, so back in like the 1960s, there weren't any residuals. You did your job and then you just went home and that check that you got, that was it. Well, then we realized, wait a second, with the evolution of DVDs, DVRs, any form of recording, or now as we have streaming, we have the possibility to watch our products over and over and over again. And if you're giving yourself in that product over and over again, you should be paid for that. So residuals came to be. And so we would get a small amount of money up front. If you're a day player, the old contract, that was 1,054 for your day of work. That could be a co-star or a guest star. That's the base pay. At least you're gonna pay. And then whenever it's shown over and over again, you also get paid for that. At first, it starts off with something similar in pay for your day rate, and then over time, like over the years, it goes down depending on what the percentage is. It goes down over time. What we're finding with streaming is that we are barely getting any residuals, and the world is really turning to streaming now. And also shows that move to streaming. So your show might be on ABC. Ooh, it's hot, and you're getting your residuals. As soon as it moves to the Hulu and the Netflix, baby, you are barely getting paid for whatever is being streamed. You're barely getting
baby, bye bye to that money.
right. Bye bye, money. And this is how people have been able to make a living. Us as actors, we have to make $27,000 a year in order to qualify for health care. The fact that we have to make a certain amount of money to get health care is a problem within America, anyways. But
Girl.
but the fact that there's many actors who are not able to do that anymore because their residuals have gone away. Where that was something that was a normal, easy practice to obtain, that's not happening anymore. So we've asked for transparency to know what are the viewing numbers. We've also asked to receive a bump in residual so that it will match what the current figures are for that. What the
Right.
AMPTP has offered is basically what would be a pay cut. We did not negotiate with them 3 years ago because of the pandemic around this. And also, we unfortunately had not properly negotiated about this prior to that because all of the streaming was new. And so they were like, oh, we don't know what this is yet. We really can't say you guys are going to receive that much. What if we don't have enough money in the pot? That's going to bring us down. So we're like, okay, we'll wait. Well, we waited and we saw the boom of streaming. We waited and we saw the boom of streaming. So there's a huge pot that's happening, and they're not distributing it to the actors. They're not distributing it to the writers and for those who do deserve it. So those are like the two big things that we're fighting for. There are 42 asks that we have. Many of them we got a big fat no or parameters that didn't make sense. So this is why we're striking, because we're saying no,
Yeah.
come back to the table with better asks, or not better asks, but better offers. Excuse me.
Right. I find it very ironic that, the AMPTP, right? Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
That they said no to all this, but yet they were negotiating with Spectrum. And Spectrum did not agree to a lot of those things. And they've pulled their stuff off of Spectrum services
Mm-hmm.
because they're not getting what they want. So I find it very interesting, hypocritical, really, right? Like, well, they're kind of in a they're striking basically Spectrum until they get the deal that they want, yet they're still not willing to work with the writers and SAG-AFTRA in regards to helping them get what they want. And I think um it's kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of gross.
It's very gross. And the things that have been said or leaked as well, which I'm always a little bit weary when it comes to that. But as long as this strike has been going for WGA, it is over 115 days. We have passed that mark. And they could have already paid out what was asked for in that amount.
Hmm.
So the amount of money that you guys have lost, that's the money that the writers have asked for, and you could have paid them.
Yeah.
And
I know,
also,
it's so crazy.
it's crazy. And the fact, and also they are choosing to only negotiate one at a time. They can negotiate with the WGA and SAG after at the same time. They're choosing not to. So then again, once again, we're losing out on a lot of time. They're losing out on a lot of money. But yet they are holding out and holding strong to this idea that they don't have enough to provide the asks that we're going
Yeah.
for.
And then kind of going back to what you were saying, the minimum needed to qualify for health insurance and how like what isn't it like over 90% don't of members in SAG after don't even make that minimum threshold to be able to
Right.
get health insurance?
Exactly. And I don't have those exact percentages, so I can't say it, but you're exactly correct that the number of people who are actors do not make enough in order to qualify for health insurance. And that's ridiculous. It should not be that. And I've said to people as well, this is a culture shift. This is a shift of capitalism that we're doing. So we're not just figuring out what sale to put up. We're moving the entire ship right now, which is a huge effort. But I pray at the end of this, not only will this support obviously us actors and the writers, but I hope it will also make a shift within America when it comes to capitalism, because there's
Mhm.
a lot of money out there. How many boats do you need? It's ridiculous. And especially if your boat is taking away from health insurance that somebody needs from that TV show that you consumed during the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly, I was really excited like for Bob Iger to come back to Disney because I was like, "Oh, I hope he kind of sets the ship straight again and everything." And then hearing some of the things that he said, I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "I this is the man." I was like, "Oh, yay, maybe he'll bring Disney back to Disney again." And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, because these heads of these studios are making like hundreds of millions of dollars. They're making ridiculous amount of money.
Exactly.
So literally probably if each of them just gave even if they gave up if they cut their pay by 25% each, they could probably cover all the cost of what they
If
wanted.
even, like, if
Yeah, not probably not even that much they would need to do that.
I wish I had the pie chart. There's a pie chart and it shows something like how tiny bit of money that each of these guilds are asking for.
Oh yeah, I think I saw it. It's like there's nothing more than like
1%.
5%. It's like
Yeah.
very
It's
small.
like point something percent for each of them. It's like, and y'all won't even give that up. Yeah, it's
How is this affecting you like now that you guys are into it? How is this like affecting you mentally and emotionally? Because I imagine this takes a really, and obviously financially, this all takes a toll.
right. So I will speak for myself. I am a very resilient and positive person, and also thank God I came from theater. So I have gone back to, I had already started going back to theater after the show that I was on had ended because I just wanted to work on some craft things for myself. And like I noted, thank God I've been doing that because I did that because that's fed me now. Instead of me doing the guest stars, instead of me filming our second season right now, I've just been doing theater, which fortunately, if I don't know if y'all can hear it, I got two beautiful boys and my husband out there. But it's able to feed our family so that we are okay. Or even this morning, my friend was doing a little indie project. So I got to participate in that. We have some interim agreements where the interim agreements are agreements that have everything we've asked for within our contracts. It goes through SAG-AFTRA, and as long as you do exactly what was asked for in the contracts, they have these interim agreements that happen.
Right. Aren't there a lot? There's several indie studios, right? Independent studios that have agreed to that ask, and they don't have nearly as much money as these giant studios, yet they're able to comply with what is being asked.
Exactly. Any student can do it.
See,
What's
I'm
going
paying
on?
attention. I'm paying attention what's going
Yes,
on.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I will say, although yes, of course, I was just texting with my girls from the show that I'm on because we're gonna do a dinner. Like we wanted to be back there filming right now. We don't have the chance to do that. And also there's a slight piece of fear of because we've seen some shows that did have the season two, season three, then it's released that now they're not gonna have them. So that, was a little bit of fear that is sitting there. I barely want to speak it out into existence, but I pray it doesn't happen to my beautiful Black show that I have. But there is a little bit of that fear there. There's also those, a friend of mine, she has classic cars. She is selling her 56 Chevy right now. She was like, it's ridiculous that it has come to this point, but it's come to that point. What was the famous actor's name? He's on Pose. Billy.
Oh yes, Billy Porter.
Exactly. Right now, allegedly, he's working on selling his house. Because as he said, he was like, I'm not making that fuck you money yet. I'm not. He was like, I am one of those actors. I need the residuals to happen. And he did post, and he's like, it's not happening since it moved over to the streaming. So it's truly affecting people. And they said that they were like, we're going to hold out until they start losing their apartments and homes. Unfortunately, one, that is happening, but also fortunately and unfortunately, actors been living that way anyways. So if you guys wanted that to happen, we already know how to keep it pushing. And come
Yes. Well, I mean, that is the trope, right? Of the actor slash waiter, actor slash bartender, actor slash.
right. And it shouldn't be that way because what we do is not a hobby.
Mhm.
What I and thank God that I've had it's been a while since I've had to have another job, but what I do is not a hobby. I
Yeah.
have a family. I have to be able to feed into health insurance. I pray to one day have a house. And the work that we do is worthy work because it shifts culture. I mean, look again, I'm not promoting, but I'm just sharing the experience. Like look at Dope Sick, where then they started opening a case again about Oxycontin and taking over.
Mhm.
Gosh,
Yeah.
look at doubt and the way that spoke. Oh, and there was another one too that looked at and I'm Catholic, so I'm saying this, but looking at the Catholic Church and when it came to the priests and such, it was taking a look at those things. What we
Yeah.
do shifts culture. We are very we're a mirror of society.
Right.
We are neat.
Absolutely. You know, it's so funny. That's so funny you say that because today, the social post that I posted today, it was really about like why I started the podcast,
Mhm.
right? Because I think I could say general reason of why, but I really kind of sat down and really wanted to get out like the reason, because I think it's so important. And one of the things that I had said is, well, I'll give you the, like, it's like celebrating diversity, and then I have some other things, fostering empathy with some other things, preserving heritage with, like, but the last thing that I have on there, well, the last two things is driving change. And what I said is driving change. When we amplify the stories and cultures we hold dear, we can also bring attention to important issues. Our voices can be catalysts for change, advocating for social justice, human rights, and environmental sustainability. And stories are told on those things. Like, our voices are needed on those things. And the last thing I put is inspiring creativity. Sharing stories and culture sparks creativity. It inspires artists, writers, musicians, and creators to draw inspiration from diverse sources. This creative exchange enriches the arts and culture, leading to innovation and evolution. I wouldn't have thought of that. I mean, if you wouldn't have said that, but the reason I brought that up is because so often art is used to be able to push change forward, because people don't necessarily, I always say people are afraid of things that they've never seen, that they've never experienced, that there's no, that's why there's this like Midwest fear of the border when they don't, it's like
Gosh, I have never heard it said like that. I'm keeping that phrase. Yes, yes.
but what if, you had somebody that watched a documentary, that watched a story based on, a true story, watched something and started feeling empathy because it's something that they never saw before. That's what these arts bring to, and so much more. It can bring education, it can bring entertainment, it can shift conversation. And I think that's why these, what you guys do as actors, as writers, it's, yes, is it entertaining? Yes, but there's so much more behind it.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, you said it. You said it. And we see ourselves. Oh my gosh. Like we finally get to see ourselves and be like, I know that story. Or I see that person, I see myself. And I always felt alone, but now I don't anymore.
Yeah.
It's so important.
I want to ask you, like, growing up, because obviously you love what you do. But what was like that? Was that something that growing up you always were drawn to the spotlight, or was it like what was that catalyst, and who did you see on screen that you're like, I want to be like that person?
Yeah. I grew up moving all the time. So it was me constantly trying to find my tribe. And theater folk, one, theater was fun. It was an easy elective. I was good at it. And also it was very accepting space and place. And the thing that actually made me decide to say, this is what I want to do was a very significant event that happened when I was a sophomore in college. I was doing this play called Bang Bang You're Dead by William Master Simone. It was written after the Columbine shooting. And the play had this main character, Josh. He kills his friends and the principal. I played the principal. And by the end of it, he realizes like what he had done and like why it was bad and why you can't do something like this. So we did this play, and we would have other high schools come and see it. And we would always have a talk back and ask the question, did anybody in the audience ever feel like the main character, Josh, who killed all these people? Our second performance, somebody stood up and raised their hand and said, I've always felt like him, but now I realize I can't do the things that he did. And I was like, I was a principal on the stage. You got that from what? The power of words is significant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting teary eyed now. Might be wine as well. But it shifted where I decided to put my focus. I was like, if I can change the world by just being out here, and my mission statement for myself is exposing the world one story at a time. If I can make a shift like that, this is a worthy job to go after. So that's why I'm an actor. That's why I got into it.
Oh, I love that. What is it? Exposing the world one story at a time.
Yes.
That might just be the name of this episode.
There
I
we
love,
go.
yeah, I love that. That's so, I think that there's more people who go into it because they love the craft and they love the storytelling. Like, that's one of the reasons I love doing the podcast, is
Yeah.
because I love the storytelling. I love hearing from other people. I love like just learning from other people. And I think sometimes we forget that, that's what writers and actors do for us, is they tell our stories and they reflect back to us, sometimes the good, sometimes the ugly, sometimes the bad, right? But it's always, and sometimes it's the funny and goofy and silly and whatever, but that's what life is. It's full of all of those things.
All of them. And the goofy and the fun ones too. Yes, all of it. So I say as well, I'm not always, stopping a school shooting. Like if I'm on a commercial for Chick-fil-A, or no, why am I saying Chick-fil-A? Lord, I don't even do that. Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry to the LGBTQ plus community. I do not do that. I refuse to be with them. Let me say KFC. There we go, like KFC, like you don't always get those experiences when you do like a commercial or something like that. But so maybe you do something and just brings joy and laughter.
Yeah.
That's
You
enough.
know what?
That can
Like
be
when I watch, like when we're talking about all of the silliness and encompassing all the things, I will say when I watch something and there's a sex scene in there, and if it, one of the sex scenes that I enjoy most is from Jerry Maguire.
ah,
And the reason is because, was it Chad, the nanny, gives him this jazz, tape, and he puts it in and he's like, what the hell is this? And they just start cracking up. And it's such a, to me, I feel like that's just such a real moment, because it's not always so serious. It's not always romantic and this and that, but like just that moment of levity, like I really appreciated that. And so I love seeing those types of things, or not as extreme as like the 40-year-old virgin, but just having those things, because you all know when you get intimate, sometimes a weird noise comes out, sometimes you catch your dog looking at you in a weird way or something, and
right.
you're just
Or if
like,
you're a parent, don't let your kids wake up. Good Lord, you don't get to finish. Like it ain't happen.
that
Yeah.
is so funny. What like how has your family kind of transitioned, like, or watched you transition in regards to, have they like said, oh, like, mom, how can we help you, or what can we do, like, or has it affected them at all?
Right, right. And maybe more so because my kids are young. I have a 9 month old and a 3.5 year old.
You
So
do not have a 9 month old.
I do. Yes.
Okay, I don't know if I like you as much anymore. You look way too good. You look amazing.
You- let me tell you, I got a goal right now to not look like a mom. And what I mean by that is like, I was like, I just refuse to. If I can, I find a way to put on an outfit every day. Like that's just my own personal goal. And sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes it's really hard to get a shower in. But golly, I really love myself and I like how I look. And I'm like, I'm gonna do the damn thing to like try to. This makeup has been on since the top of the day, but who cares? I did it because I knew I was going to be seeing you and keep it. And I have certain colors I think look fun, and I get my earrings, and I washed my hair this morning. I was like, we're gonna do this today. So I thank you because I work really hard to put it together, and apparently it
Yes, girl. No, you look amazing. I'm like, I was like, oh crap, I better get in the shower real quick. I only wash my hair once a week anyways. It's not wash day, but and just barely put on some makeup just so I didn't look like I was dead. Right. And I was like, it's fine, whatever. I know this is gonna go up. I know this is gonna go up on video, but I still choose this.
Yes, yes. Well, you look beautiful. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Did you ever go through a time in regards to, because we're talking about like reflecting and seeing yourself on screen, and I'm sure that's something that you're aware of,
Yeah.
with your kids, and you want them to be able to see a reflection of their stories and who they are on screen as well. When you were growing up, did you, and you, or when that moment you decided, like, this is what I want to do, how does that, because obviously when you're in this type of industry, it's so looks based, and
Oh my
you're
gosh.
You're beautiful, first of all. You're gorgeous. But how does that take a toll? Is that something you start thinking about when you start going into it? And like, what kind of toll does that take on you when you're heard, no, you're not the right part. You're this, you need to be more this. You because it's like I feel like we spend our whole lives trying to just feel confident in ourselves. But yet you go into it, then then some people go into profession where literally people are constantly telling you your flaws all day long. Like, how do you handle that?
Gosh, oh, that's the big question. A big old hell's yeah to all of that. You have identified it correctly. The things that an actor goes through, and especially a woman can go through within this industry. And it's tough. Like it does take a toll on you sometimes. So I started off in theater where that might not necessarily be something that happens all the time, unless it's something like sometimes musical theater, I think, can be in that world because there's the singing and the dancing. And there's a whole thing within the dancer community of like having the dancer's body and that kind of thing, which can take a toll. And me being my wonderful black self, my Trinidadian self, thank God I have that where we are not expected to be skinny. We want to have some curves. We love like the softness of ourselves. So when this industry or watching the pounds on screen happens, at least I can fall back into that. And so when I was watching stuff growing up, it was definitely tough because one, I didn't see myself, and two, I really didn't see myself when it came to size. Right now, you guys are just looking at 3/4 of me. I am a petite individual, but I have like not washboard abs or anything